the stream.
Sounds good. All right, I'm ready when you are.
Ready.
All right. What's up, Internet? You're listening to the Making Geeks podcast, a podcast for makers, families, and geeks.
What's up, Sean?
Yeah, not much. How you doing, Wes?
Doing all right. Doing all right.
How you doing, Donna? Wait, hold up. Never. Hey, where's Donovan?
Oh. I think he's getting some. I think he's getting a beard tattoo this week.
I think I heard the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's tired of being left out.
Yeah, so Donovan's not with us tonight. He has some family obligations that he's taking care of, so we're just going to be a two-man show tonight.
Yeah.
We might have a little bit of a bonus content with Donovan in regards to this show, but we'll post information on that later on. We figure out the logistics on how we're going to do that. But aside from all that, what have you been up to this week?
Well, we haven't talked in 2 weeks, so I'll include some of a little bit.
Yeah, that's right. I think I kind of forgot that.
Yeah.
There's a lot to talk about this episode.
First, since the last one was recorded and posted, I came out with a video, finally, of the Super Nintendo game battery replacement procedure.
Yeah, it was really good.
Oh, thanks.
I learned quite a bit.
Oh, appreciate it. I tried. It was fun to make. I think it came out all right. I'm not sure if all the jokes landed, but some of them were a stretch. But that's how it goes sometimes. And then we had Thanksgiving, where we had like 17 people, I think, in our house, including my wife's family, and then 2 separate groups of my friends, which I include as my family on my side. And so we had, including Nicole and Turi from When Geeks Craft, they came over and enjoyed and partook of the festivities. And that was quite fun. Apparently, Nicole has had a long history of not liking turkey for Thanksgiving. And I changed her mind on that, apparently, which was, I'm pretty proud of myself on that one. We smoked we smoked 2 pretty good sized turkeys. I started them on the smoker quite early in the morning, along with, actually, I started preparing the night before with all the herbs and the seasonings on the outside of the skin and all that, extra stuff that you can do under the skin, on the skin, salting it. Like, it was very elaborate. And then early that next morning on Thanksgiving, I did the pie stuff. So I created a blueberry pie from scratch with the crust. So I had to start that pretty early to give it sufficient time to cool down, or else it becomes a blueberry soup. Within the pie, it doesn't congeal enough, but luckily all the timing worked out somehow, and that was good. How about you, man? What did you do the last 2 weeks?
A lot has happened, so I guess I'll kind of start in a somewhat chronological order. Before I do that, I want to comment on your Thanksgiving, your situation. You have a tendency of really garnering a lot of jealousy in the community, whether it's with seeing pictures of the food and what you're cooking, because everybody wants to be a part of it and try it, and just the awesome group of people that you end up gathering in your vicinity. So we were all watching and kind of like petting the screen and like, oh, I wish I was there. Because it always looks so good, and just you always have such cool people around, so that's awesome. On my end for Thanksgiving, we typically have it at my my mother-in-law's house or my in-laws' house. And my wife, the past couple of years, has been doing the turkey and then taking it over and just kind of to help um, divide some of the work. But my wife's parents got COVID, along with her 98-year-old grandmother. So that kind of
Oof.
changed plans, and we had to pivot. And we had a Thanksgiving at my wife's aunt's house, which is still nice. Smaller group, still good food, but very different. And of course, thinking about everybody else that was not able to be with us, but we managed. And then my immediate family, with my kids and my wife, we usually do a small scale Thanksgiving, just us. It's kind of a tradition we've done for the past, I don't know, 6-7 years. And for the last, this will be the third year, I started making stuffing, because I like traditional American stuffing, and my wife's family is not traditional American. They do a version of stuffing that's not anything that we'd consider stuffing. So I started developing a stuffing recipe over the last couple of years and perfected it, or trying to work on perfecting it this year. In fact, so much so that I made it twice because it was that popular, and I think I've finally gotten it to a point where I'm really starting to like it. So it's a very meat heavy stuffing, but yeah.
I don't know what to think about that. I'm not a big stuffing guy myself, so maybe that would be what I needed to enjoy it. Add me to it.
Yeah, it's what do we use? Italian sausage, bacon, and then usually sourdough bread with all bunch of seasoning and stuff, and really toasted really good. Some people may not consider it a traditional stuffing, but I don't know. It's my family is a bunch of big meat eaters, so it kind of works for us at least.
I mean, smoking turkey isn't really the traditional thing either, so
Yeah,
it's
but at
in
least
good
it's
hands.
turkey. Yeah,
That's true.
yeah. As far as making stuff goes, I finally finished my son's bed frame, which I realized that I had a lot of errors in my initial plans that I made, so I have to go back and fix those. I did want to maybe offer those on my Patreon or on my website for sale, but I'm starting to second guess that until I know it's structurally sound. I worry about some of the liability, but it came out pretty good. There's one or two small things I still have to fix, and I'm redoing the headboard that went along with the bed as well. The headboard that he was using is one that I've had for 30 years. Was mine as a kid, but I'm currently in the process of refinishing it. And then there's these thin plywood panels that make up a majority of the back. I pulled them off, sanded them down, and I'm going to engrave the Breath of the Wild map on them, and then
Dang,
put those on.
nice.
And I have a lot of video footage to go through for the edit of that, which I haven't even started yet, but I'll be doing that soon. I still have my last laser video to do, which I'm 2 weeks behind now. I'm on that, mainly because the last week has been pretty taxing on my nerves and everything. If anybody's watched any of my Instagram story over the last couple of days, my district was on the verge of striking, which is something that is fairly rare for us. It hasn't happened in the 17 years that I've taught. And I went to school in the school district that I currently teach in, and I don't think it's happened in the last 30 years that I've been around that district. So it was a pretty rare circumstance.
Guess you could say things are getting pretty serious.
They were, because it was 2 years without a contract that we couldn't come to any terms.
Wow.
We went through a third party, what's called third party fact finding, where a neutral party kind of does research to figure out, what is kind of like a fair agreement and settlement. And we were, I don't know, an hour away from striking. So 11:30 last night, we got word that there was a settlement reached, and that we weren't going to strike. Otherwise, the strike would have started today. So crisis averted. So now we can kind of like look forward to prepping for the holidays, and I can finally get back to some responsibilities. I have to finish,
Yep.
so I can kind of like put stuff to the side and just enjoy things with family, and finish prepping the house, and getting ready for Christmas, which is a whole different type of stress.
Right.
But aside from all that, we have a lot of really cool stuff to talk about today.
Yes. Maximum geeking out, I would say.
Yeah, it's like coming out of my pores right now. Kind of
Yes.
it sounds a little bit gross, but
You ringing the geekiness out?
yes, it is dripping right now. I'm gonna stop
Are
because
we
I'm
still
not helping you.
geekiness? We can keep going.
I know you can't, but I'm actually grossing myself out just by
Like a geeky flop sweat kind of thing. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Got it.
like a nasty. I was gonna say like a middle school sweat, but
I I I could see. I could smell that. Yeah.
my son's in middle school right now, so some of those odors are really prevalent in the house at times.
Yep.
Yep.
As is my daughter. Yeah.
Yeah. So with, I would count maybe 4 or 5 things at least that are worth talking about today. Do you have a preference of where you want to start?
We can start with the Super Mario trailer if you want.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. The second Super Mario trailer for the movie coming out, is it April that it comes out? Is that right?
I believe that's right.
Yeah. There's one released a couple weeks ago that gave us our first look at what the world potentially looks like, and we talked about it on the show a little bit already. But the second trailer, I think, really felt like a better view into the real ambition
Yeah.
of what they're going through. I think that this is the first step into a full on franchise.
Yeah.
There are some key things said in the trailer that kind of give a hint to that. Do you want to talk about it first?
Well,
Since you're our resident expert.
I mean, it starts off, you know, similar to the other one, just kind of laying the groundwork for, what the movie is going to encompass, and they sort of, as you said, kind of like made it more apparent that it's encompassing a lot more than what we thought. As it shows Mario squaring off against Donkey Kong, and there's references galore in this entire trailer. Like I went back and watched like several breakdowns, and even watched it myself, trying to spot things as well. And there's like every frame there's Easter eggs and little hints everywhere. So Mario versus Donkey Kong, and Mario does like the Super Smash Brothers pose as he like begins to assault Donkey Kong, which without any clear effort, he just totally wails on Mario and doesn't even blink. Doesn't.
I mean that whole sequence
Yeah.
is an entire Smash Brothers
It's an
reference.
entire Smash Brothers reference on
Yeah.
top of a Donkey Kong, the first game reference, because they're on the girders and everything with
Yeah.
barrels in the
Yes.
background. There's
Yep.
a ladder going down on the
Yep.
side. In the background, there's like platforming elements, and there's like Donkey Kong Country references. You had Cranky Kong on the throne, which he was like overseeing the battle beside Princess Peach, which I guess is from like a visiting kingdom, from what I gathered.
Hmm.
And so that leads on to other sequences where you see Bowser like basically torturing Luigi by like pulling one of his little mustache hairs, which I'm going to put this out here as a prediction. I don't have anything to base this off of, but he plucks the hair from Luigi, which is like, he's excruciatingly screaming in pain. I'm wondering if they're going to pull Superman 4 and use the DNA from the hair.
I already know what you're gonna say.
Yeah, and clone
That's
like
cool.
Wario or Waluigi or something like that. Like to
I didn't think about it until you mentioned it right now, and that's pretty cool.
maybe for like a spin-off or like a sequel, like a after credits thing, or maybe even for the movie. I don't know. Whenever I see somebody like pulling a hair off of a hero, I always think Superman 4. And there's been a lot of movies where they do crap like that. And you're like, oh, they're going to try to clone him or do some sort of like, bizarro version of a character or something like that. And I'm just wondering if that's what they're trying to do, maybe. I don't know. Where it looks innocent.
And I'm okay with that.
I'm okay
In
with
this
that.
one situation, I'm okay with this.
Yeah. It makes me also wonder, like, I didn't think of this before, but this was like a little gimmick in the original Super Mario 64 game, where the entire time, like, to explain how the transition from 2D to 3D works, like, within canon of Mario, is that Lakitu, the dude on the little cloud, was the camera operator, and he's the one that's actually creating the camera view for the player. And I'm wondering if they're going to do something like that in this movie too, as a nod
Oh, that's cool.
to that. Yeah, I don't know if a lot of people remember that, but there's a point where you could like get out, or you could like look in a mirror, or you could get out of the camera, and you would actually see like Lakitu following Mario with a camera like behind him, providing the third person view, which I always thought was clever.
I think that is too. I
Yeah.
like that. Like here's an actual in canon reason why you're able to do this.
Right.
Yeah. Wow.
Like that's the level of like depth that Nintendo gets in. And if they take that and apply it to the entire movie, it's just going to be crazy. As we hinted, like you had the Mario Kart referencing, the Rainbow Road referencing. I mean, it was just so much stuff. There was an overworld map. I don't know if you noticed this, where
I did. I did.
Peach is like, "Oh, here comes Bowser! Bowser's forces are invading the Mushroom Kingdom," and it shows like the encroaching airship, just like in Super Mario 3 when it's like traversing between the different kingdoms. And there was even a an island in the bottom corner that looks like an N64 controller, which was an interesting little nod. And there's like all kinds of little things, but I could go on for an entire episode on this.
I'm sure we could, and I'm sure at some point we will, just because the movie is going to eventually come out, and it's going to be worth a full episode at least. I'm a huge fan, but my knowledge doesn't go as deep as yours. I'll say that when I saw the first trailer, I thought, "Oh, this looks cool." When I watched the second trailer, my reaction is, "Okay, now I'm excited."
Yeah. And
it
did everything a trailer should do.
It did, and I don't know a whole lot of the storyline. And in some ways, I actually don't care. Just to be a part of and witness all this is going to be cool. Something that made me even more excited had to do with not with the movie itself, but with seeing the reaction of my daughter. My daughter has a very particular taste or distaste of some things for no real rhyme or reason. But seeing her get excited about the second trailer, she didn't care about the first one for some reason. She always go, "Oh, it doesn't make any sense." It's a weird cop-out answer of hers. But she got excited about the second trailer. And maybe it was the Princess Peach stuff. It could have been. They're definitely suggesting that she is going to have not just a big role in the movie, but almost a lead. How would you
like a Mary
phrase it?
Sue kind of thing almost?
Yeah, but she's not a damsel in distress.
Right.
She's very capable.
Right.
And I don't know if they're going to paint Mario as being the bumbling, sidekick at first.
Not totally.
I hope not either. I mean, because it is the Mario movie. I mean, he has to, kind of rise at some point.
Right.
But she's definitely very capable.
Right.
And I think my daughter always tends to like that. So I think that's maybe what she saw in it.
And in the trailer, they seem to suggest that the original Super Mario Brothers levels were like training grounds, basically, for Mario
Yes.
to learn all the stuff he needs to learn, which I thought was clever too. And there were even a couple. I think I noticed like a couple potted plants in the background, and one of them was the same shape as the clouds that were in the original Mario Brothers that doubled as a cloud and a bush. They used the same graphic and colored it differently, so I think that was another little nod as well. There's so many. There's like in the first one there was even Luigi's Mansion references and all kinds of stuff. It was pretty awesome. I'll shut up about that one now. What's next on our?
Well, actually, I was going to say one more thing about the Mario thing, and now I forgot what it was. You said the training ground thing.
They mixed in the catchphrases in not a super annoying way, which I thought was good.
Yeah.
Bullet Bill. There were piranha plants. There was. I'm trying to trigger you.
I know I might have to come back to it, but I don't want to have it like dead air either. Sure. But it was some sort of commentary about some of that stuff. We'll come back to it if it comes up. I'll bring it back to that. But
okay.
You want to talk about like just do all the trailers first and then save Andor for the end, or okay. There were 3 trailers that came out today. So this is Thursday, December 1st. And the first one that came out that I saw this morning was Transformers: Rise of the Beasts, I think is the tagline for it.
Saw that one. Yep.
And I'm not entirely excited about Transformers in general just because we've seen it.
Yes.
And I didn't even watch the last 2 movies of the so-called series. I saw Bumblebee, but I consider that almost different.
I was wondering if this was a continuation of that. No, because at the end of Bumblebee, it showed Optimus like driving across a bridge, and Bumblebee kind of like catching up to him. And I could swear that same shot was in this trailer, almost hinting like it was a continuation of that sequence.
I think it might be as well because they're using the older style of Optimus.
Yeah.
um, and I wouldn't be surprised. I think that they hit kind of a sweet spot
Hmm.
with the visual look
Yeah.
of the Transformers in the Bumblebee movie, and I think that might be what they're continuing. I hope. Um, I think it looks cool. I'm not 100% excited about this in the same way, but it's more cool content.
Hmm.
Seeing a gorilla as a transformer was pretty cool in that one shot.
Yeah.
I don't know if the story is going to warrant um, any real attention, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I like
Shout
that it
out to our
exists.
previous host, Mark. He's probably like way more knowledgeable on Transformers lore from what I
Yeah,
remember than I am. I didn't really even watch like Beast Wars or anything growing up. It was kind of, I felt too old for it when it came out. Like at least in the old school like CGI, when CGI was like so
yep.
new it looked ugly. I remember that was like the Transformers Beast Wars was like kind of like in that style.
It was. It did pretty well though
I think
for
it did.
what it
Yeah.
was at that time. Yeah.
Um, yeah. So Transformers. We had Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 today. Um, saw that. I'm very excited about that. I've been waiting for a rocket like centric episode, and it looks very much like we're gonna get that. Um,
I also think there's going to be some pretty heavy hitting stuff.
yeah.
This one. This is definitely suggesting that some characters may not be possibly with us
Right.
past this movie.
Yep. And several, yeah, like I say, several characters say that. And then there was a sequence, or it showed like Peter Quill kind of like reacting, and almost saw like a hospital kind of accessories behind him. So
Yep.
made it think that something's dying. But yeah, I'm excited. And a continuation of that storyline is from the something else I recently watched that you said you watched, which was the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special, where they
Yes.
featured Cosmo and
Yep.
other antics ensued, including like a, as James Gunn put it, a swole Groot, which I thought was kind of funny. Um,
I was wondering if there's a real reasoning for that. I mean, is that canon
it's canon.
or
Well, it's canon now. It wasn't previously
it's
canon.
now?
Yeah, he said that they just wanted to differentiate between the previous Groot because it is a different life form. Like it's basically his son. It's not like Groot from the previous one, which was never super clear in the movies. But in many tweets since that first movie came out where he sacrifices himself, James Gunn said that it's basically like a spawn of him. It's a completely different
Right.
organism with his own memories he doesn't retain in the previous memories, which is why he didn't act the same. But it's just a
Hmm.
way of visually differentiating the long, lanky Groot with the buff one. Um,
There's an evolution of Groot that I really wanted to see in the movies
mm,
called King Groot.
oh yeah,
Yeah, and I don't know if there are very many people familiar with it, and I don't know if that's a completely different, um, not even like person, but storyline where that would exist, like maybe like on the planet where the Groots are from, type thing. But I just kind of liked the look of that character. If anybody wants to look it up, you can look it up. I thought it would have been I thought it would have been kind of like a cool like final form
mm-hmm.
of the character because we've already seen the evolution of going all these different stages. I thought seeing that as a final form or like more powerful form might have been cool, but maybe I played too many video games and I was
Right.
thinking about the evolution of the character.
I know there's also a Venom Groot, so that would be kind of crazy to see, which I don't
Oh, that
expect
would be
that.
crazy.
Yeah,
Is that what I think it is?
yeah.
Is it like a okay?
Yeah, the symbiote infects
Yeah.
Groot, and there's like a comic run of it apparently, which
Wow.
is nuts. Yeah, it's funny. Like you don't really think of the symbiote going across and affecting everyone. Apparently, there's a spin-off comic of most all Marvel characters being affected by it, and like what that entails, which is kind of neat.
Yeah, it's funny. Scott in the chat says that Groot looked kind of like a cosplay.
That's fun. Yeah, James Gunn
Yeah.
got tweeted that, and someone asked if it was like a costume. He said it was all CG, but I could see people definitely
You
dressing
know,
up as it.
yeah, it's funny though because in the holiday special, for some reason, the way that that one was done, and I think it was done with a little bit lower production quality. If you take a look at the sets and stuff, which is fine, it almost looked like somebody in a suit,
Yeah, which
which
is
I think would
props
have
to
been
the CG department because they
yeah,
to make it look like that. It's good compositing for sure.
I think so too. Yeah,
Which I enjoyed that. I thought the special was cute. The music my kids are like super overplaying it here, and which is they always do this for like anything musical, like on a movie or a show. They just play the ever living crap out of the songs to the point where I
Mhm.
can't stand them anymore. Even if I like the original source material,
Right.
they did that for Frozen. They did that. They tried to do that. Yeah, they did for Moana. They tried to do it for Coco, which luckily for me, I liked that movie more than they did, and they didn't repeat all those songs ad nauseum. But they
Right.
did the same thing for Spirited, which we watched recently. Watching, they keep like Amazon, Alexaing all kinds of songs from all those movies, and it's just like, okay, don't ruin it for me.
I think what's interesting about the song thing is, the Guardians of the Galaxy have basically made it part of their almost like a trope for having
Sure,
this, the,
storytelling
you know,
mechanic, yeah,
yeah. And what's interesting is you have a whole new generation of kids hearing this music for the first time, a lot of them, but now it is 100% associated with a Marvel property as opposed to, I was gonna say purity of the music, but
right.
uh, just having the music stand alone. So they almost can't hear the music without now picturing the movie at the same time.
I think the same thing happened with like the Rock Band games too, because a lot of times like I'll hear a song that I used to play Rock Band a lot, even
Yeah.
songs that I knew them beforehand, but some of them I didn't really appreciate completely until I just was forced to listen to them a lot in the game. And then
Hmm.
instead of thinking them on their own terms, I think of them within the game, like, oh, that's a Rock Band song, or that's a Rock Band song. So I totally get it, but it's good, I think, to keep the music fresh and like kind of for new ears. It gives it another
And
life.
and for some of those songs, I think it's actually kind of helped them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Metallica, like in Stranger Things too, they
Oh
have all
yeah.
new life and
Yeah.
all those songs.
Absolutely.
What else we got?
Did you like the holiday special?
I thought it was good. It felt like an old school holiday special episode of another property,
Hmm.
where like they didn't necessarily play by the same rules, and you kind of give them a little bit of leeway to have just kind of fun with it. I thought it was fun. I thought the effects were kind of half baked for a lot of them, and they were kind of weird. Like some of the stuff Mantis was doing, like jumping around, was very strange
Yeah.
looking. But that's like a nitpick. Overall, I thought it was cute. I thought the songs were funny.
Because I think it got like a little bit of hate online,
Hmm.
but I think that when you watch a special like that, you have to learn how to watch it a little bit differently.
Yeah.
It is not the same as the movies. It is not the
No.
other things. It's this weird little add-on for fun,
Yep.
and you kind of have to allow it to be quirky, different, maybe a little bit lower production quality, and
Yeah.
just look at the tongue-in-cheek nature of, my God, Kevin Bacon is now MCU canon.
Right. GoBots are MCU canon. They
They
mentioned
are.
they mentioned GoBots,
They did. I thought that was really kind of
and I was
funny.
like, wait, did they just say GoBots? Because like Drax had like some beef with a GoBot,
Yeah, and
and
I
I'm
was
like,
trying to
did they just say that? Like what?
trying to figure out how to rectify that. I mean,
I don't know. That's part of the fun with like as MCU properties age and reference things that are not quote unquote Marvel, then all the implications that you can draw from these references are pretty hilarious, and I love thinking about them.
I mean, and this is like a complete aside, but I was trying to think about the legal implications of this.
Yeah,
Now I'm looking right now. So Hasbro owns the fictional side of the property, character names, bios, storyline, but the actual toys are owned by Tonka
right.
or
That's
Bandai.
that's right. Yep.
Yeah, so I don't
But
know.
also they were in some of the canon. I don't know what you count as canon, but in some of the Transformers stuff, they had crossover between GoBots and Transformers. Like later on, even though
Hmm.
originally, GoBots were like a
I think I
knockoff
remember that
of
too.
it. So does that mean by connection that the Transformers are, MCU canon, and you could do the same thing with because Stan Lee did the Mallrats cameo thing in Ms. Marvel, right? Yeah, Captain Marvel.
Yes.
Yes, Captain Marvel. He showed up there, and then he's reading the Mallrats script, and then you like connect everything he mentions in Mallrats, and you're like, it just kind of like, well, he mentioned Superman, he mentioned Kryptonite, he mentioned the Thing and Fantastic
Hmm.
Four and all these things. So does that mean that by relation that's all canon? And then you're just like, well, because of this, and it just kind of snowballs, and it's a lot of fun
Yeah.
to geek
Possibilities
out.
are endless.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Guardians of the Galaxy. We got our first look at Adam Warlock in the trailer. I was hoping to see a little bit more of him, but maybe it's right that they not show
Mm-hmm.
much because he is supposed to be a pretty pivotal character from everything I've heard. I don't really know, of course. And what was the third one now? Oh, did you see the Indiana Jones 5 trailer that dropped today?
I did.
That didn't sound very.
I am I am very hesitant after the last movie, as hopefully most other geeks are. As long as there aren't like joking gophers and Shia LaBeouf swinging from vines faster than a vehicle can drive, and no refrigerator antics and transdimensional beings slash aliens, then I'll have a good time. I think as a send off, it'll be good. But yeah, Maker's
I
Portal apparently didn't hear that there was a trailer for the new Indiana Jones movie, which you
Yeah,
need to
I
stop
recommend
this
watching
and
it.
go watch it. It,
Yeah.
it. it has potential to be awesome. So did
I
the
was
other one.
watching it.
Yeah.
I guess I should back up and say I didn't think there was a need for a five, and in a lot of ways that there's probably not an actual need for a five. And I didn't even know that he was physically up to making a movie like this. Although I'm sure stunt doubles and everything else
If he's gonna
are
be the Red Hulk, then
well. I mean, there's that too.
sure, CG. Yeah.
But I'm watching the movie, and all of a sudden I kind of got the bug of like Indiana Jones, and I liked how it feels modern but nostalgic.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there wondering, going, I wonder if this could be one of the best of the entire series.
I hope so.
I think the potential might be there.
Mhm.
I guess it's a fingers
I
crossed kind
remember
of situation.
feeling the same way with the fourth one. The trailers had everybody
Oh,
so
I
excited.
didn't. I
No,
did not feel that way.
really.
The only thing I was possibly looking forward to in the fourth one was seeing him hand the mantle over to somebody else.
Yeah.
Although I didn't want it to be Shia LaBeouf.
No.
Back during that time, there was a rumor that Chris Pratt was actually going to take
I
over the
remember that.
franchise
Yeah.
because it was still early enough that he had the look and he was new, and he wasn't as annoying as a lot of people consider him to be now. But that didn't happen at all with that movie.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. I remember waiting outside at one of those the theaters that you like Cine Bistro or the ones that you can like order food. It's a nice fancy theater. They come bring you the food out. I remember waiting in line outside of that theater. It was in Portsmouth, Virginia, for like 2 hours to watch that stinking movie. And then while the movie was on, after I ate like a nice meal, I felt nauseated at some of that stuff. I'm like, "Are you serious?" I was like looking around during some of those jokes. I'm like, "Is it? Well, why are you guys laughing? This is not good." So hopefully they rectify that. And they got panned so hard after that movie that I'm sure they're gonna do all they can to not have it that way. But
Do you remember what the tagline of it was? Was it "and the dial of destiny" or something? Was that
that
right?
sounds right. Yep. Where they can
I
turn back
did.
the clock to like erase the
I'm
fourth
I'm
one.
I'm assu I'm assu I thought you were mentioning some sort of knowledge of what it was actually about, but I'm not sure.
I don't know.
Did you notice that in the movie they're suggesting, or it seems like they're suggesting that the main enemy, I guess, is still the Nazis, but they didn't show one swastika.
I got that feeling too, but I didn't notice that. But yeah, you're right. I did kind of feel that. Maybe I saw some uniforms or something
I
that
mean,
looked
the uniforms looked
German.
almost identical to being like the traditional German uniforms,
Yeah,
but they did not show one swastika.
right.
And I don't know if that was intentional for the trailer or if they're not going to
That's
use the.
probably too tainted of a symbol for them to even include it anymore.
That's kind of what I was thinking too, but in a small way. If you're going to do it, do it.
Yeah,
I mean, it's you've already established that pattern with the series, but
right.
I
It's
don't
not
know.
like that symbol is going to get any better.
No,
It's
it's not going
not.
to get any better.
Yeah,
And if you're going to vilify it, then
sure.
vilify it.
Right.
And I wonder if that is a Disney decision since
Mm-hmm.
they essentially own Lucasfilm as well.
Hmm.
So, anyways, I guess that is that. Um, that covers some of the initial stuff, right?
I think so. Yeah, we did we
Yep.
did a good job on the lightning round there.
And of course, we'll be doing full kick out sessions of each of those as we see the movies and as all those come out. Um, did you notice that in the oh, there's something we also could talk about too, but maybe we should save it for another episode if you want to talk about Wakanda Forever.
Oh,
Maybe that should be a separate episode.
we got to save something for Donovan.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you've seen it, so Donovan, go see Wakanda Forever when you can. So we'll do a full episode on that. I think that one is definitely worth talking about too.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I saw that. So should we get into Andor a little bit?
We can do a little bit on that. Maybe not do as deep of a dive as Donovan
Yeah.
would like to do, but we can touch on some stuff. Spoiler
Yeah.
alert if anybody's not finished that
Yeah.
series.
And a lot of
the
the
haven't.
yeah, and a lot of things I actually want to talk about. I don't think are necessarily spoiler territory, but I think general
Generalizations.
commentary on what they did.
It works for me.
Yeah. I finally caught up. So and I finished the series probably really quick to. I finished the series almost right when the last episode was released. So
Oh, concurrent.
I completed that journey almost the same as everybody else. I'm pretty sure. I don't know how you want to kick that off. Just because we talked about it a little bit already based on the first couple episodes that I had seen,
Right.
and now this initial first arc is done. And I say initial because is it been verified there's going to be a season 2?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty sure.
So good.
I was gonna say like the first thoughts for me is when they first announced Disney Plus having live action Star Wars stuff. This is what I was hoping we would get, something like this, where they could kind of take it in not a different direction because they already sort of did that with Rogue One, but it became clear that that was still an oddity with the tonal nature of the subsequent films and other properties since that movie. So I thought they just kind of gave up on the serious like storytelling because I really liked that movie. And I thought it took like a different approach that was needed, and I quite liked it. I thought it was really cool. Some of the stuff, admittedly, was a little bit hard to follow. I know they didn't want to do like a whole lot of exposition, which I'm okay with. It warrants multiple viewings to pick up on a lot of the subtle stuff. I admittedly lost some of the details when I watched it the first time, and I've watched the end of the series, each episode twice now, and I was able to pick up on some stuff. I'm curious who also missed out on some of these things. Like for example, they mentioned a whole character that was referenced multiple times to the point where I'm like, did I miss that character's introduction? And they just Krieger, his name was, and they just mentioned him over and over again. I'm like, did I miss? Did I fall asleep? And then they showed him and they talked about him so much that it's like it's unusual for like a show or movie to reference a character so often for such a pivotal thing and never actually show him to you. So I thought I just completely blanked out on something, and it kind of took me out of it a little bit. And there was a couple other little things, but overall, I thought the droid was super cool. I felt like empathy for him. I didn't think it was super annoying just to sell toys, which a lot of they use the droids for that purpose in a lot of these movies, for good and for bad. I mean, the kids want to have something to watch too. But my son watched it with me. He's 8 years old. He didn't know what the heck was going on half the time, he said, but he enjoyed the stuff that he understood. Like, I mean, space battling. They had some super epic sequences that weren't overly drawn out, but because they didn't have a lot of space sequences to like inundate you with CGI stuff, they really stood out to being like they used them at the perfect amount, the perfect timing, just to kind of hit that home run. But I'm not going to go into all the cool details. I'm going to leave some of them for you to talk about, to sort of elaborate on.
Well, because my take's going to be completely different than the things you're mentioning. So yeah, I don't think you're gonna don't think you're gonna step on my toes at all.
Gotcha. Yeah, like Luthen's ship, I thought was awesome. I thought that whole character was really intriguing to me.
The sequence with the tractor beam, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh.
Yeah. Yeah. Compare that to what's his face mm, I'm drawing a blank
Poe,
on the character's name.
Poe Dameron,
Poe
or
Dameron, yeah. When Poe Dameron is like facing off similarly with one ship versus like
yeah.
essentially an armada of firepower, and like how different the sequence went. Like, can you imagine if he did was just like the jokey like, oh hello, I'm losing you, like that whole sequence. It was kind of funny because you don't really see that sort of thing in Star Wars, but obviously it didn't really fit with the tone of the rest of the series. But yeah, he was a badass. Like, oh, I'm sorry. Let me just throw these, this like flares or whatever you want to call them into the tractor beam to just completely destroy the tractor beam dish, and then having these TIE fighters. Oh, big deal. I have this auto locking turret that's controlled by a droid that's integrated with my ship apparently that can insta kill these guys, and he could have insta killed all of them, but no, he's gonna essentially buzz the tower to show off, and then take out the last two fighters with basically lightsabers attached to his ship, and then take off. And
Hmm.
leading up to that point, when he had one engine turned on when the tractor beam was like on him, like when he was acting all like kind of goofy, like, oh, I don't know what's happening, da da da. He turns the one engine on, and it made the entire ship shudder. Just one engine made that entire giant ship kind of move, and all the people on the the in the bridge or whatever kind of like stumbled a little bit. I'm like, holy crap! Okay, how powerful is his ship? Like,
Well, I think it says more than just about the ship.
oh yeah,
Like
his whole
who is this guy really?
yeah yeah
There, I think there were some weird, subtle hints that he's.
more than
I
is
don't
the
want to
wrong
say
so
I
far.
don't want to say force sensitive, but definitely something more than what's been presented to us so far.
Hmm.
Um, I think that this was a very, very, very powerful series, and I don't say that lightly. There was so much, whether it was intentional or not, but I'm going to say it was probably intentional to some degree. Social commentary in the entire series about everything. Um, Definitely hits hard for times going on right now, but I think that if you look at any other generation, you could probably draw parallels to how um, any group trying to fight against a tyrannical force of some sort. And it very much seemed like it had almost like this Archduke Ferdinand type situation, like the start of World War One. Of like, here is the moment when it actually started or happened.
Right, right.
There's so much in this series, and I know that I was on the fence the last time we talked about it, and I basically was saying, this is not my Star Wars, not my Star Wars, and I still kind of feel that way. But that doesn't mean I liked it. In fact, I really, really like the series. And this is the kind of like if I was going to write any kind of blurb about this somewhere, like for publishing, it would be the worst thing about Andor is that it is Star Wars. Because I think Star Wars ends up being an anchor in this story. If this was not connected to Star Wars, I think it would even be 10 times better because it would have the freedom to go off in the direction that I think it should go off into, but it can't because it has this other burden attached to it that it all has to steer this one way. There's really no choice about it. It would have been better if they actually said it, if they still wanted to be under Star Wars, this should have been a High Republic story or something.
Hmm.
But because everything has to steer basically right into Rogue One,
Right.
It's going to force things to tie up in a way that may not be in the best interest of the story that they've set up, which I think is amazing. Everything from the visual look to the characters, except for Andor, because I still am on the fence about him
Yeah, I don't know if he
because
really
he was
grew a
a
lot personally. Like,
I don't think he's a character that does grow much,
yeah.
and I think that's kind of what makes him less interesting.
Mm.
But really, I don't think that is the fault of the writers per se, because we see how he has to end up,
Right.
and it looks like he's always been a little bit of a I wouldn't even call him an anti-hero. You know,
Yeah.
he has a couple of few people that he cares about, but he doesn't seem like he has any kind of like that greater good
No.
type of intention. It's very much just trying to survive and get by.
I remember when he shot the dude, his ally essentially in Rogue One. I was shocked by that. I'm like, ugh. Like, wow, like they're gonna have rebel people do this sort of thing, and that was before, that was early on in the film. That was like an example of kind of like what I think Luthen says in this show, saying like using the enemy's tools against them, essentially,
Yep.
and almost like blurring the line between hero and villain to the point where like if you started the show or the movie in the middle and weren't initially introduced, you wouldn't necessarily know which one is a hero or not, because those lines are so blurry.
Yeah.
And like I saw a lot of articles referring to some of those, the was it Dedra, the ISB agent, and all this as like a villain, which I didn't really feel that she was super villainous. She had a different ideology that she was.
She was just motivated.
Yeah, and like she was with the in the bureaucracy and all that stuff, and like it was just a different. Like the best villains are the ones that think they're the heroes, right? Like they think that their way is the ideal way, and that's what they're fighting for. I thought that was really cool.
the The show is an amazing commentary on government and power and excess and got a whole host of things. I mean, this could actually be studied
Hmm.
in a lot of different ways. Yeah.
I also thought that the concept of putting one's ashes into a brick to build the city itself, I thought that was super cool.
Hmm.
And I was kind of pissed because Catherine and I had just finished our wills, the first edition or whatever. And I'm
Yeah.
like, man, that would be super cool. Like, I don't know how it would want to be used in that manner. Like, I can't really specify that I want to be, you know, entombed in a brick and used to crush a fascist skull in during like a rebellion. Like, that would be obviously that character loved that she was
That's pretty
used in that way.
specific.
Yeah, I can't really specify. That's hard to do, but I think that was a really cool concept. Uh,
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
The culture that was built out on, was it
Ferrex,
Ferrex?
oh, so cool.
It was in the it was actually really cool seeing the togetherness of the community and not just crumbling under the
Hmm.
imperial occupation. The funeral
Right,
uh,
procession.
procession tradition, whatever it was.
Yeah,
Well, one thing I thought was really cool is instead of like the bell tower, you have the guy hitting the anvil.
yeah.
I don't know why, it just seemed kind of cool.
Well, it makes sense in their world. Everything's about manufacturing
Oh,
and
yeah.
like casting, and why? Yeah, well,
Yeah,
of course it would be an anvil,
and it wasn't Tatooine.
and it wasn't
It wasn't a
Tatooine.
stupid desert planet.
I know. There's more than just. And then yeah, like with the Force Awakens, there's like, oh, hey, look, it's a Tatooine. No, then like don't introduce
No,
other
it's
planets.
Jakku. I'm like,
Yeah,
really?
it's basically Tatooine. Like, come on,
Yeah.
stop doing this. Like, stop shooting. Like, it's almost like they had a contract to have to shoot in Tunisia and use a
Hmm.
desert like environment. Like, no, you could. There's
But every 5 years you have to shoot here.
right, right. With the infinite universe of different types of planets, why are you going to the same ones all the time?
Yeah.
The one thing I thought was strange, that a little bit of too much of a loose end, is that they spent so much time doing the backstory of Andor and his sister, and they never like really touched on that anymore. They didn't even like acknowledge the dangling thread of where his sister was, because that was like his main driving force in the first couple episodes of finding his sister. And he went to like the brothel or whatever, and like started talking about like, where's my, have you seen my sister? And he finally got the information, but he never. Obviously, it's something to go back and investigate in the second one, but it was kind of weird of all the ways that they like all the threads that they ended up like tying together at the end. This one was like so far out there that they
There's
never
there's a
acknowledged it.
there's a weird replacement that happened with,
Yeah,
okay, where's his sister? And then no, it's this
it's this other
girl
chick that
Bix
you didn't really
that he
spend
had
much
a
time with.
yeah, they had a relationship with at one time, and there's still kind of
Yeah, I
some
didn't feel
tension there.
that draw to that. I thought they should have had her as being his sister. Like if that had been his sister that was there, then okay.
It would have solved it better.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't feel the connection there that they were trying to establish, but I thought it was neat. Uh,
Definitely.
do you think that her brain was so scrambled when she was on the ship that she didn't realize Andor was there when she said Andor will come back for us? Do you think that she didn't realize that was Andor saving her, or was she just saying, "Yeah, I believe that you will come back and save us"? Like it could be interpreted two different ways. I watched it twice, and I thought one way, and then I thought the other way, and it's like it's portrayed in such a way it could be interpreted both ways. I thought it was really cool. I don't know if you picked up on that or not, or if it's just something I'm projecting.
No, no, I don't think you're projecting it. I didn't spend that much time thinking about it, but I assumed that her
Brain's
brain was
mush.
baked at that point. Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember the last time we talked about this. You and Donna were talking about the brutality of the Empire, and I still didn't quite feel it the way I thought it was going to happen, but it was definitely there.
Yeah.
And once again, that's one of those things that don't entirely line up. Although I think you can narratively fix how they go from this organization that they are now to almost being a little bit more of a bumbling bunch later on, and maybe stretching resources, or
Mm.
there's no more good recruits, so you're scraping the bottom of the barrel. That stormtroopers can't shoot anything without hitting shooting three times first. I think there's a way to explain it. Just it doesn't make for a great
Right.
story or transition.
Andor sort of already laid the groundwork for some of that too, saying that like they're so fat, dumb, and happy that they won't notice
Oh yeah,
anything. So in that sort of way, you could like almost explain away a lot of the bumbling stuff as just them being, you know, complacent with how they are. So
it, and I'll one of the last things I'll say is and this might just be my opinion, and I won't give a lot of details in case anybody listening still hasn't watched the entire series. I think because this was 12
yeah,
episodes, which is a little bit longer than a lot of other series come out right now, which is great.
yeah,
But I think that the entire star of this series is the sequence of being in the prison.
yes. I thought Andy
And
Serkis was awesome.
Andy Serkis has turned into an amazing actor. He didn't start out that way. I think he's grown into giving a really good and powerful performance.
Yeah,
Yep.
definitely. Though, and I like how they left it open ended enough where he could have survived still, and you're like,
Yep.
okay,
Yep. That was really cool. This could be the start of any sci-fi story. Like I said, it's kind of a shame that it's not going to be its own thing, because it could have.
they announced also today that a little more details on the Acolyte series. Did you see anything about that?
I did not.
Which apparently is going to um, cover how the Sith first kind of infiltrates like the Jedi Order, and like also like it's a prequel to Episode One, even. It's like 100 years before that.
Oh,
So it
I
might
guess
even
that I
cover like
guess that's good.
Darth Plagueis and other stuff and stuff before that even.
I was wondering if we were ever going to see that stuff,
Yeah,
because I know what everybody really wants to see is Revan,
right.
which I don't know. I don't know if we'll get to.
I'm happy that they'll it's stuff so far out from the Skywalker name that it gives it some at least a little bit more breathing room, like you're saying.
Yes.
And if
Yeah.
they're not confined with a date for things, then it's even better.
Although the one thread that will be there still is Yoda,
Right.
which might be okay.
Yeah.
Um, I guess at least you have one singular thing. But
Right. He's like the common thread.
how cool would it have been if they actually had this planned out better over the last 30 years, where all this is intentional as opposed to trying to wedge
Shoehorn
something
it.
in
Yeah.
somewhere. Yeah.
Yep.
Anyways, first world geek problems here. We're still getting some amazing content
Yeah.
at such a fast rate. It's amazing.
Yep.
Oh, I finally remember what I was going to say before about something. Although it's not Mario, it's something else. If you look at the schedule, like some movies, we're getting almost like a new Marvel movie every 3 months right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's an insane pace for new content.
It is. Yeah, we got 4 last year, I think. Did we get 4 this year? Maybe you're close to it. If you
I
include
don't.
the holiday specials and all the
I guess so.
TV shows
Yeah.
and everything too, yeah. Crazy.
Good time to be a geek.
It is. The geek will inherit the earth, I guess.
So much so that I don't think I have a geeking out tonight because
I have a
this
little
was
bit.
all okay.
Um, some reason I got into a rabbit hole of some comedians online, and some of them I've liked generally. Like as I'm just not like a super fan or anything, but I've watched so much more of them that I'm like appreciating their nuance more than I had in the past. And that's Martin Short and Steve Martin, like especially them together. Uh,
Have you seen their Have you seen their Netflix special?
I haven't, but I saw the interviews
It's
leading up to it.
amazing.
Okay, but
It's amazing.
I'm hesitant because I actually want to try to go see them live, and I'm wondering if they'll
Oh,
repeat
okay.
some of it.
Okay.
Um, but I saw like several Conan interviews with Martin Short. Apparently, he's like one of his most popular guests when he did the the Late Show stuff, and then one with him and Steve Martin on there, and they're so hysterical, like picking at each other and just like totally razzing, and it's just so amazing how quick-witted they are, especially for their age. Like Steve Martin is like 70, upper 70s, I think.
Oh yeah.
And he's very quick and very fast. And then also, I've been watching several Conan O'Brien stuff where he has the podcast now, where he's been doing like kind of long form interviews with a single person, and he had Kevin Nealon on there. And I like Kevin Nealon generally from SNL before, but oh my gosh, it's so funny. I highly recommend it. It's Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend. It's on his YouTube channel, but he has like several. It's like a month old, and he had like 4 or 5 15 to 20-minute segments that were from one episode that they have cut up, and it's so funny to have them talk to each other because Kevin Nealon is apparently the master at like derailing conversations to the point where like he starts doing it, you don't even notice he's doing it, and then Conan like realizes he is doing it, but he's like so masterful with how he weaves his stories together. Like you're doing it again, and like it's like all these tangents that almost like connect to each other, but he intentionally leaves them like not in the same direction, and it's just like by the end of it, there's like I don't know what's happening. They had to throw out like their entire script of questions that he had for him, and it's just I was rolling. So I've just been appreciating a lot of that stuff lately,
Yeah, there's some good ones there.
for sure.
You know, I take that back. I do have a geeking out. Um, are you familiar with Make with Miles?
I am, yeah.
Yeah. So I met Miles. Actually, we met Miles years ago at Maker Faire, and he was, I don't know, at that time he was 13.
Super young, yeah. No,
Yeah, maybe 12.
he's killing it.
And cool kid, and there with his father, and just wanted to be part of the maker group, and started making himself. And he's doing amazing work right now. He's in college right now. He's going to product design school, but he released a video recently called "Risking It All to Collab with My Favorite YouTuber." There's a artist online named goes by 1000 who does really cool artwork, and I guess Miles, of course, is a fan of his. He took one of 1000's drawings and did a full sculpture out of wood of the character, and got 1000 to agree to paint it. So Miles did the sculpture, which is incredible. Sent it to 1000. 1000 painted it, and the video and the journey that he went on to actually complete that, and the time that he took and the hours that he put into that are just amazing. And the end result is really cool too. And there's even something a little bit more, I guess we could call it heartwarming, that happened in that interaction. I'll let everybody check out the video, and you can see it for yourself. So, Miles, amazing work. You're killing it. It's awesome, man. So that's my geeking out.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
I'm also geeking out about our patrons over at patreon.com/makinggeeks because they help this show stay afloat. Every time we release an episode, they put their money where our mouths are, and we appreciate them. Especially our top patrons, Nolan, Square Splinter, Clinton, and Jordan. You guys are awesome.
And if you'd like to see what we're all up to, let me try that again. And if you want to see what we're all up to, you could just check out...
We are
Donovan, where are you?
Donovan, we need you.
Yeah. I should have him record it separately, and we'll shoehorn it in. But if you'd like to see what we are all up to, because we're all up to some very cool things, Wes will of his projects, you can check him out at Geeksmithing. Donovan and all of his builds, God of War, and whatever else he's currently working on, which I'm not sure what his current project is. Go follow him on Once Upon a Workbench, and you can see all of my stuff on Geek Builders on all the socials.
I'd like to thank all of our people that joined us today on our live stream on our YouTube channel. It's always great to have their interactions along with our commentary. It's super cool to have a community that supports us, and we appreciate them for spending the evening with us.
And if you'd like to be part of that awesome group, we record every Thursday evening on YouTube, and that's 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central, and 6:30 Pacific.
Oh, 6:30 Pacific? Yeah? Okay. Make sure we all are aware of that time next time we record. Donovan.
I was wondering where you going with that at first.
See, I'm trying to weave. I'm trying to dodge. I'm trying to, do some callbacks.
Adapt and change.
Yeah.
I'm not too good with that. Sometimes my brain gets one way of doing stuff and just it doesn't bend as well anymore. Well, you can find new episodes of the podcast every Saturday morning on your favorite podcast player of choice. So from all of us to all of you, have a great week.
See you, man.